Stream is live. I see it.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities. And it's going to be really an amazing experience. And I look forward to you joining me on the job.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mental Health Today. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Got a couple of guests this morning, Richard Burgin and Max Blaska. It's going to be good, kind of a fun and a little chaotic interview.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk to Max first and get his story on a film festival that he's put together. And then we got Richard. I just watched Richard's trailer on Amazon for a movie called Fang. Very interesting, a little bit dark, which I would guess some of the mental health stories are going to be dark. But we'll get to hear a little bit about the idea and how that came about. So Max, real quick, I love it. You're on a work break. You told me earlier you slept 4 hours a night for the last few weeks.
I'm a little loopy, yeah.
A little loopy. So tell us about your show. Tell us about the festival, and tell us about how you started it and all that good stuff.
It all started with $1. I went on a trip to Maine with my cousin, and I got the opportunity to do a Stephen King Dollar Baby, which he had student filmmakers, very independent filmmakers, adapt one of his short stories for $1. The only thing is you have a year to do it, and you can't do it for profit. It's not for commercial use. And it brought me, it radically changed my life. 2 years ago, I was so depressed, I was thinking about suicide. And working together with all these people in this film, I got the idea of creating a film festival for mental health warriors like me. People who have struggled with depression, anxiety, bipolar, etc., but used filmmaking as a tool to fight the anxiety and actually turn the mental health crisis into something beautiful. And I first met Richard actually a year next month at the...
Oh, yeah. Hard to believe it's been that long, 11 months that we've known each other.
Oh, yeah. And I saw Fang, and he was the first film I got selected for my film festival in May. And I was able to raise the $7,000 I needed for the theater and some advertising costs. And it was we had like 60 people come, but we are going to start the campaign for next year's festival later this month. And we are hoping to actually have an online component with Eventive. And so people can access it not just here in Madison, Wisconsin, but across America and the world.
That is great. What a interesting way to find an outlet for your energy, right? I mean, you got all this kind of trapped energy in your brain, and you found a place to put it.
Oh yes. And my film has been going to film festivals all across the Midwest. We're going to be in a mental health film festival in Denver that I'm going to, and to talk to people about what I'm doing. And then we're going to be in Las Vegas at the first annual King Convention at the end of October. And if you would have told me like 2 years ago, I mean, quite literally, first week in September, I committed myself because I was afraid I was going to either kill myself or kill my parents so I could then kill myself. So much has changed, and I want my story to inspire other people who might be feeling suicidal and depressed, that things can get better, and that through creativity, you can get better.
I mean, some of the wildest minds in art were a little bit nutty, right? I mean, let's face it, there's that fine line between crazy and genius.
And they're starting to be open about their struggles. I mean,
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds Demi Lovato, just to name a few. I mean, eventually, I still want to start a nonprofit that would bring performing arts and mental health advocacy together. And this festival is like the first step to that process, and that's something that Richard and I will work on.
That's awesome. So how many films did you show at
Absolutely, and I'm really glad.
I believe it was 2021. Mostly short films. Richard's was the only full-length film we showed.
Wow.
But we had one from Poland. We had people come from Iowa, from Toronto, from Orange County, California. I mean, it was really, really big for a first-time festival.
Yeah, interesting. 60 people, but that's a lot of geography.
Oh yeah. And we hope to double that for next year, May 3rd, 2025.
I didn't realize there were mental health film festivals.
There are about 5 in America. There's one in Canada, and there's one in Australia, one in Germany. But yeah, there are not many. But I'm glad that I'm one of the 5.
That's interesting. How did you guys meet?
We met at Oshkosh at the Sawdust City Film Festival. He was showing.
I was on stage. Max was in the audience, and we first talked during the Q&A.
Yeah, because you captured panic so well.
Thank you.
And I asked you if you struggled yourself with any mental health issues, and you were very brave and open about your experiences as well. And then I knew after the screening, I asked you, can I screen your film at my film festival? And you were the first one to sign up.
Oh yeah, I'm really glad I did it. It was an amazing event. It's honestly one of the best film festivals I've been to. Just the sense of community and passion at the Mental Health Warrior Film Festival, and it was my first trip to Madison, Wisconsin too, and I was like, yeah, this is a really nice city too, and it was a really nice venue, and it was a great group of people that we had come out.
That's it. Mad City.
Oh yeah.
I went there. I've been there a few times, but a long time ago as a kid with my brother, went to a game there, football game. It's college town, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you're able to make it first weekend in May, first Saturday in May, you're more than welcome.
That's gonna be hell yeah, I'm gonna come. It's not that far for me. I'm in Chicago, so definitely gonna come back up for that.
Very interesting. I'm a Wilmette kid, so I grew up in Wilmette, so we're all kind of neighbors from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
So Max, what's next?
I'm getting funds together to travel to all these film festivals, and my dream is to actually make my film into a feature film and ask King's lawyers how much it might cost to buy the rights outright. And I still want to create the Performing Arts Club for teens who struggle with mental health issues.
Oh, and put that where, in a high school or just an internet club?
I'm thinking a high school setting. Yes. But that's hopefully sometime next year. I will have to go back because my break's almost over, and because sur la table, I work at a kitchen store, and they have been so.
I love it. So what are you doing now? What are you doing when you go back to work? What are you doing? What are you hammering away at something or building something?
No, I am going to clean the bathrooms and make sure that all the sales display are great. We have great deals for $17.92, $19 for a 52nd anniversary. So, and they've been nothing but supportive and I wouldn't, because when I got out of the mental hospital, I knew I needed a job, and they hired me. And this is the first place I've actually worked where I actually felt like I didn't have to hide my mental illness. And I
love it.
That's wonderful.
Max, thanks for joining.
Oh, thank you so much, Max.
Thank you so much, Ken, and thank you so much, Richard. I'll talk to you later this month for a team meeting.
Yeah, give your
Sure
boss a
thing.
big hello from us.
Oh yeah.
Will do.
I'll remember that deal when I'm shopping.
Cool. Take care.
Oh, you too.
That is too
Oh
funny.
yeah, that was really
Uh,
cool. Yeah, no, Max is a great guy, and he really did a great job getting the festival set up, and I helped out with the marketing. I got a press release made for the first festival. Now we have an even bigger team for the new festival, so it's going to be really cool.
That is really, I mean, that's fantastic. Only 5 film festivals for mental health.
And we're one of them.
Great. You're one of them. It's a great name.
Oh, thank
The
you.
Mental Health Warrior Festival. It's just
Oh yeah.
supreme name. So Richard, let's talk. Let's get a little bit of your story out. As I was telling the audience, I watched the trailer on Amazon for Fang, and I got to say, man, really like the cinematography, the capture, the scene stuff, everything looked legit, like a feature film.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I worked with a wonderful, incredibly talented team of people that really helped out a lot, that really made a big difference. I think the most important thing for filmmaking is working with the right people because, you can
Right.
have some kind of a vision of what you want to do, but your vision isn't going to get you far unless you have like a team of people who know what they're doing, maybe more than you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And I've learned that lesson. Hopefully, I know what I'm doing a little bit more now. But thank you. I'm really glad you enjoyed the trailer. And for anybody who is wondering what Fang is about, Fang tells the story of Billy Cochran. He's this young guy. He's a janitor. He works at a factory in one of the kind of decaying neighborhoods of Chicago. And Billy has undiagnosed autism. He has probably a bunch of other mental illnesses too, like being schizophrenic and OCD. And so one night, Billy wakes up. He has to use the bathroom at home, and there's this rat in the bathtub. So the rat jumps out. It chases Billy around the house, and it bites him. And then Billy starts to notice something strange. He starts to notice that there's this rat fur growing on his arms. So then from
Yeah.
that point forward, Billy starts to think, maybe I'm turning into a rat. So that's what Fang is about.
And obviously, it's not a horror movie. He's not actually turning into a rat.
Well, I want it to be ambiguous.
It is a little ambiguous, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess if you're in that mental state, it is a horror movie and it is real.
Absolutely.
So how did your and the mom is in this. Mom's got a role in this as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His mom is mentally ill.
Very mentally ill. The mom in Fang is played by Lynn Lowry. Her character's name is Gina, and she has stage 5 Parkinson's. So anybody who has kind of lived with somebody who has stage 5 Parkinson's, in most cases, it's not just the physical illness, it also has like hallucinations, kind of dementia, kind of stuff. It's a really sad thing to live with, but I figured it makes for great drama, but very, very sad in real life.
And real. It felt real.
Oh, thank you.
So what is your, I mean, you've got a story. Obviously you were inspired, I guess is the wrong right word. Inspired to write you're
Oh, yeah.
inspired to write it. What's your personal story?
Well, I did draw some stuff from Fang for my own personal story, although in the movie I made things kind of worse because I didn't want it to be like making my autobiography or making a documentary about myself because I figure that's a little too self-indulgent, but I did draw some things
Yeah.
from my life. My dad had Parkinson's, so I got to see what it was
Mm,
like up close. It was an 8-year process. He started getting the symptoms of the disease back in 2012, and then he died from it in 2020. So I got to see it for a long time. And then I also had a mental health crisis of my own. When I was 4 years old, I got diagnosed with high functioning Asperger's. And then when I was at college, when I was 18, that was when my mental health really started to deteriorate. I got kind of, I guess you could call it severe depression. I felt
mm.
very depressed, very anxious, very misanthropic. And so I channeled those feelings into writing the script for Fang and then later directing Fang.
Interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's a wild. Where did the rat come in? Because I mean, that's an interesting choice for to
Oh, thank
introduce
you.
psychosis. It's a huge fear for a lot of people. So you kind of leveraged a double. You got a little bit of a double angle there. Any
Oh, well,
inspiration
thank
for the
you.
rat,
I
or
like to say thank you instead of thank you. Now say it with the thank you.
fang you? Yeah,
Oh,
don't fang me. I don't want to be
yeah, no,
fanged.
I'm not going to thank you. Well, I got the idea for the rat was at my dad's house during the years when he was sick with Parkinson's. Things were kind of deteriorating at home. It was starting to get dirtier in
Yeah,
there, because neither of us were really wanting to clean the house. And so for a time, there was a brown recluse spider infestation. I saw one. It was about a foot away from my foot. It got very close, and I was like, oh my God. And so what I was thinking is that, I can't have Billy, the main character in Fang, I can't have Billy getting bitten by a spider and start turning into a spider because that's too much like
that's
Spider-Man. And if
someone's
he gets
already
bitten
taken
by
that
a
idea.
cockroach, that's too much like Kafka's The Metamorphosis. So I figured, yeah, he can get bitten by a rat and start turning into a rat. And that works.
That works, and that was interesting.
Oh,
Interesting
thank you.
idea. Um, did you imagine this kind of journey? I mean, you end up in a film festival, and there's a Q&A with Max, and you raise your hand. I mean, did you imagine this kind of a journey when you started writing?
Well, I got to say, the whole film festival experience is really fun. It's not exactly like how or how I imagined making
Yeah,
movies before I did it. I don't know if it's quite like anyone imagines it with all the things that go into it. It's not exactly like, oh, we're going to roll out the red carpet for you and then here's $1 million for your next picture. It's not quite like that, but the film festivals are really wonderful. It's really fun, and it feels really good to meet people and to talk about my work. And you can tell by like how fast I'm talking when I'm like describing Fang in interviews. You can tell that I've done some interviews before. Like I have my talking points memorized by now. But I love saying it again and again. For new people I meet and new people who I'm doing interviews with. It always feels good to tell my story and to tell the story of
yeah.
Fang and it's a great feeling.
Your mom played the role of your dad in a way.
Well, she
What's
wasn't my mom in real life. My mom is not mentally ill, thankfully. She's a
Yeah.
very sane person. But Lynn Lowry gave a fabulous performance in the
Oh,
movie. All of the actors, I think, did a fantastic job, and the crew did a fantastic job too.
how do you go about? I mean, how do you find actors? Like, how did you do that? How do you put a film together like this? I mean, these were like really good at. Like, she was an amazing actress.
Oh,
Is
thank
she
you.
really an actress, or did you just? Is this a friend? How do you find people to do this work with you?
Well, she's been acting in movies since the 1970s, so she
Okay.
definitely has a lot of acting experience. And Lynn has worked with directors like David Cronenberg, George Romero, Paul Schrader, and then she told me that Fang was her favorite movie that she's acted in, so that made me feel really good. That's one of my favorite compliments that I've gotten. But I guess with the actors, it's a mix of like they reach out to you and then you reach out to them. The way I found most of the actors in Fang was I put up an audition notice on backstage.com that described the different characters, and then people sent in their video auditions for the role. And the interesting thing about doing that is that you get the most auditions for like the really minor roles. Like there was one, scene that like is a hospital scene with like a nurse that has one line of dialogue, and there were over 100 auditions for the nurse. So that was a really, yeah. It's the roles that are not like specialized roles. Those are the roles that get the most auditions. So I was looking through the different actors' auditions, and what really stood out to me about Dylan LeRae, who played Billy, was that he gave a very nonverbal audition. He mostly portrayed the physicality of the character, and that really stood out to me in my mind. And I think also subconsciously, Dylan LeRae looks a lot like me. And that was why I was thinking, he should play the main character. People have said, oh, Richard, you did such a great job starring in Fang. And I'm like, no, I did not play that role. That was Dylan, not me.
That's crazy. I thought it was
yeah.
you. I thought it was
You
you
thought it
too.
was me too. Everybody says that.
Wait a minute. Like that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Got to see a picture of us like standing next to each other.
Well, one thing's for sure. That's also maybe partly why I was surprised. What took me in, but only watching the trailer, right? But I mean, it's not a 1 minute trailer. It's a proper trailer.
Oh yeah. I made a 30-second trailer that's shorter to make it easier to advertise Fang, because
Yes.
a minute is surprisingly long for getting people to watch stuff on the internet. That's one thing I've learned.
Yeah. No one's got time, and their
Oh,
brains
yeah.
are. Our brains are. We've got the attention span of goldfish now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, he looked a bit like you, and I mean, I thought it was you, and I was also taken back because he's a really good actor. So that's partly what.
He is a really good actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised by everything, kind of going, whoa, wow, this is a legit film. This is not some, I don't know. I don't know what I expected. But like I said, the cinematography is great. The lighting was great. The lines were great. A lot of good the music in the background, the tension.
Oh, thank you. I did
Yeah.
contribute to the soundtrack. We had a mix of music from different people, and I kind of put my stamp on it.
Had a good tension to it, a good vibe to the tension. So
Oh, thank you.
So what happens now? I mean, what's a shelf life for a film? How long can you market the film? What's next?
Oh, I'll keep marketing Fang until my next feature is finished. I figure now it's almost Halloween season, and Fang just started streaming on Roku for free. So I think that's going to get it in front of a much wider audience. And the feature that I'm going to be working on next is called Malsomnia. It's about a guy who like gets brought back to life in kind of a Frankenstein kind of experiment, but he starts to remember more and more things from his past life, and more memories that are traumatic memories start to resurface for him. And so that kind of drives him insane. And I want it to be completely from the creature's perspective. So we're seeing everything through his eyes and his memories of his past life.
That will be interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Frankenstein, and then being able to see through their own memories, right? Through their through their own persona. Yeah, that could go a lot of. There's a lot of places you could go with that.
Oh, thank you. And then I have other projects I'm working on too. My goal is to be staying very busy for the rest of this decade, and then hopefully the decade after that, and the decade after that too. Maybe like in 2050, I'll start slowing down a little bit.
Well, how old are you now?
I'm 27.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You got plenty of time. A lot of energy still.
Oh yeah. Well, I still take some caffeine, but I do have some energy.
I got some.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and what was your final? So you've got Asperger? Are you still? I mean, is Asperger's a permanent thing? I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like you learn the. I think for most people, learning these social skills is like an innate thing. You kind of pick it up from other people around you. For me, it's something I had to consciously study and learn how to be, like how to act in public without people thinking I'm, really crazy.
I love that.
Oh, thank you.
I have to study how to be social with other people.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't totally freak everybody out in the room.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to have access to your personal dialogue when you go into a larger social setting or a premiere.
Oh, yeah,
right?
what I'm thinking and everything.
Yeah.
Well, there's some of that in Thing that I kind of cranked it up a lot for Billy. I'm like, I want him to be a really awkward character. I want him to be really awkward and uncomfortable. So there are a lot of funny scenes too of him interacting with the other characters, like in very embarrassing ways. And that is part of what contributes to his descent into madness in the movie.
Do you look at some of this stuff now? Now that you know who you are, and you kind of know the plus and the minuses. I interviewed a gentleman, Chuck Hall, and it was one of those interviews. I've interviewed a lot of people, and Chuck stood out for a couple of reasons, and one of them was late in life diagnosis for autism, and he's autistic. But he's been super successful corporate person, and then and then a coach, and he's coaching people, and he's a successful coach, and it's kind of become his secret sauce. Like he talks about he's autistic, and he talks about how you should work with me because I'm autistic in a way, right?
That's a good point. I didn't think of that before, but I think it does have some advantages. In some ways, he could be very like analytical and hyper focused. There are definitely some advantages to that. Like I had some days on Fang where I was like focusing on the work I had to do for the movie, and I was focusing for like 20 hours straight. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe a few breaks, but mostly 20 hours straight.
Yeah, and I just wonder if you've kind of figured out how to harness it into a superpower.
I hope so. Here's hoping.
Yeah, it's one of I think, especially as you get older, and I think you become more comfortable in your skin, and you also learn to use it. When it's detracting from what you want to do, and when you can turn it on, and like you said, you can do 3 days, 4 days of focus in one day.
Oh yeah.
and probably other people, wouldn't be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just some days, you need to recharge afterwards, but I think that goes for a lot of people in general. Oh yeah.
Okay, so you got Fang out. People can find it on Roku now
That's right. It's on Roku, streaming free with ads. And I think, and I was really excited because actually yesterday is the first time I saw it up there. So it's a very recent thing. I never know when it's going to be getting onto the different platforms. They don't give a lot of information to the filmmakers in advance. So it's really cool that it's on there now. It's going to be getting much wider exposure, and hopefully a lot of people will stumble across Fang, and yeah, they'll think it's fantastic.
Fang. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Richard, how do people find you and find out a little bit more about just, you, and then, get into the fan club? How do we get the fan club going, and how can they find you and talk to you?
Well, you can, if you're on social media, you can look up my Facebook page, and then I also have an IMDb page where I keep adding stuff to my bio, so it's a pretty long bio, and I add credits for a lot of stuff, including the different interviews I've done in different movies I've worked on. So that has a lot of information about me, and hopefully I'm going to have my own Wikipedia page soon. I know how to edit Wikipedia, and I think that, I definitely want to get a Wikipedia page for the Mental Health Warrior Festival too, because, it deserves it. And I think it'll be a great way to promote the festival when people are searching on Wikipedia, mental health W, and then that comes up in the predictive
Warrior,
text.
yeah. Well, that is awesome.
Oh,
well,
thank you.
You can add Mental Health Today podcast to your
Absolutely.
to your bio. I'll certainly
I'll be happy to.
Yeah, and I'll grab all the credit stuff that you shared with us, put that on this show when we put it on audio. So this will be live. It's live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So when we hang up, it'll be there, and then we'll put together some shorts and circulate those on LinkedIn. But I'll make sure we get them to you for your Facebook and other pages.
Great.
You'd want to share them on.
Absolutely, you're doing a great job. Getting it out there quickly and editing it, because I've been on a bunch of different podcasts. It's like some of them, it's like they release it right away. Some of them don't release it. Some of them release it a few months later. So you're doing a great job, staying on top of things.
Thank you. I just do the live. I mean, I think the live.
That's all good. Great. Yeah. And I'm guilty of not staying on top of things too. Like, you can find interviews of me like 2 years ago. No, wait, actually 4 years ago. You can find interviews of me like back in 2020 saying, oh, Fang is going to be finished in fall of 2020. And then it's like, well, actually it was about 2 years late. I was about 2 years late on that. So I can't say anybody else is running late when I was like 2 years late.
It came out right when it was supposed to.
It's all good. Yeah. I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, you weren't late. Richard, again, thanks so much for spending time. Hang around for 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll chat for a bit when we wrap it up.
Sure.
A big thanks. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening and sharing, supporting the stories and the guests around mental health today. Really appreciate it. If you are listening to this on the audio version, drop down and find us some stars and a rating, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Find Richard on Facebook as well, and find him on his Wikipedia page in 2 more years. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Talk to everybody soon. And Richard, hang around for 30 seconds.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, loose, baby. We're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals in public glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glass blowing. Yeah, we're gonna go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.